The chains of subjugation. The air inside the mining tunnels was thick with dust and the stench of sweat. The rhythmic clang of pickaxes against stone echoed through the cavern, punctuated by the occasional crack of an overseer's whip. Deep beneath the surface of Zelvok Prime, thousands of human slaves toiled in the dark, their backs bent under the weight of imperial oppression. Captain Elias Kane tightened his grip on the pickaxe, but he wasn't thinking about mining. His eyes flicked to the far side of the cavern, where a group of humans, thin and hollow-eyed, whispered among themselves. The rebellion was stirring. For over a century, Earth had been little more than a forgotten colony, a conquered world stripped of its identity. The Zalari, an ancient and powerful species, had crushed humanity's resistance with ease. They saw humans as weak, primitive creatures, useful only as laborers, soldiers, or entertainment in their brutal gladiatorial arenas. But Kane knew the truth. Humanity wasn't weak. It had been caged. A shriek tore through the tunnels. Kane turned in time to see a young miner collapse, exhaustion claiming him. A towering Zalari overseer, armored in gleaming black plates, stalked forward, its reptilian eyes narrowing. Without hesitation, it struck, its energy whip cracking against the boy's back. The child didn't even scream. He was too far gone for that. Kane gritted his teeth. He had seen this too many times. Too many deaths. Too much suffering. But today it would change. A whisper came from behind him. It's time. He exhaled slowly. No turning back now. Kane shifted his grip on the pickaxe, pretending to stumble. The Zalari overseer barely reacted, bored by the display of human frailty. That was its mistake. In a single, fluid motion, Kane swung the pickaxe up and buried it in the alien's throat. The overseer gurgled, its black blood spraying across the stone. Silence fell across the cavern, broken only by the sound of the body hitting the ground. Then came the chaos. The humans moved as one. Smuggled weapons emerged from hidden alcoves. Laser cutters, repurposed mining tools, stolen knives, primitive but effective. The rebellion had begun. Zalari guards stormed into the tunnels, energy rifles raised. Kane dove for cover as searing plasma bolts struck the cavern walls, sending chunks of rock cascading down. A rebel beside him, an older man, frail from years of labor, was struck in the chest, his body disintegrating in an instant. Kane grabbed the fallen man's weapon and returned fire. A Zalari screeched as Kane's shot hit home, its chest bursting apart. More rebels joined the fight, overwhelming the guards with sheer numbers and desperation. Kane led the charge toward the supply depot. A single ship sat waiting on a landing pad above, their only chance at freedom. As the battle raged, Kane knew one thing for certain. Humanity had taken its first step toward vengeance, and the Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming. The spark of rebellion. Kane sprinted through the chaos, his pulse pounding in his ears. The dimly lit tunnels of the Zalari mining complex had become a war zone. Plasma bolts streaked past him, scorching the rock walls, but he didn't stop. The supply depot was ahead, their only chance of escape. Behind him, the rebellion surged forward, fueled by rage and desperation. Years of slavery had made them tough, but now they had something more: hope. They had already overwhelmed the guards at the tunnel entrance, but the real challenge awaited above: the Zalari command post and the dock supply ship that could take them off-world. Kane skidded to a stop as a massive bulkhead, doors sealed, shut before him, cutting them off from the upper levels. Damn it! The Zalari were fast, but not fast enough. "Breacher! Up front!" Kane barked. A wiry woman named Jenna Voss pushed through the crowd, lugging a makeshift explosive device, cobbled together from stolen mining charges. She slapped it onto the door's locking mechanism, activated the timer, and ducked for cover. Boom! The explosion shook the tunnel, sending a rain of debris clattering to the ground. Kane was moving before the dust settled, leading the charge through the shattered doorway. They emerged into the Zalari command center, where alien officers scrambled to react. The rebels didn't give them a chance. Gunfire erupted, cutting down the unprepared overseers. Some tried to flee, only to be gunned down as the humans, took the control room by force. Kane grabbed one of the fallen Zalari's comm units, adjusting the frequency. Static crackled before he heard panicked voices. Rebels have breached command, requesting immediate reinforcements. Negative. The landing bay is compromised. They've taken the ship. Kane grinned. Good. Voss, status on the ship? He asked. She wiped sweat from her brow. Hendrik and his team are securing the cockpit. We're almost clear. Almost isn't good enough. The Zalari will send a full strike team if we give them time. A guttural roar came from behind. Kane turned just in time to see a Zalari enforcer, twice the size of a normal overseer, clad in thick armor, charging straight for him. Kane barely dodged in time, rolling to the side as the alien's energy blade sliced through the console where he'd just been standing. Sparks rained down. The enforcer turned, its reptilian eyes locking onto Kane. No hesitation, no fear. Kane lifted his plasma rifle and fired. The shots bounced harmlessly off the alien's armor. Shit. The enforcer lunged again, but this time Kane was ready. He sidestepped, grabbed a fallen Zalari's weapon, a heavier plasma repeater, and emptied the entire charge into the enforcer's face. The alien collapsed, its body twitching before going still. Kane exhaled. Move! Everyone to the ship, he ordered. The rebels poured into the hangar, where their stolen vessel was waiting. As Kane stepped onto the boarding ramp, he took one last look at the carnage they had left behind. The Galactic Empire had enslaved them, humiliated them, thought they were broken. Now, humanity was rising, and the galaxy would soon learn fear. Fire and fury. The stars streaked past as the stolen Zalari supply ship hurtled through the void. Kane sat in the cockpit, watching the displays flash with warning signals. Enemy pursuit was inevitable. They'll track us, Voss muttered, her fingers flying across the controls, rerouting power to the ship's failing shields. Zalari ships are faster, better armed. We won't outrun them. We're not running, Kane said. We're making a stand. Voss glanced at him, eyes widening. Where? Kane leaned forward and tapped a set of coordinates into the navigation console. The system's name flashed on the display. Sol 4. Mars. Mars had been abandoned for decades, a once thriving colony left in ruins after the Zalari conquest. But Kane knew something the Empire didn't. Mars still had teeth. Aboard the ship, the rebel survivors gathered in the cargo hold, weary but determined. Kane stood before them, his voice steady. This is it, he said. The Empire thinks we're nothing. Weak. Helpless. That's why they'll chase us to Mars without a second thought. He let that sink in before continuing. But they've forgotten one thing. Humanity doesn't die easy. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Kane saw it in their faces. The fire of rebellion had fully ignited. The ambush. They reached Mars just ahead of the pursuing Zalari fleet. A detachment of 3 warships sent to eliminate the insignificant rebels. As expected, the enemy ships entered orbit without hesitation. The Zalari were arrogant. They thought this would be a simple execution, but Kane had baited the trap. From a surface, long-buried planetary defense cannons, once thought useless relics of Earth's failed resistance, began to stir to life. Human engineers, hidden in underground bunkers, had spent years restoring them in secret. Now, they roared with fury. The first enemy warship took a direct hit, its shields collapsing in an instant. Seconds later, a barrage of missiles ripped it apart, sending its shattered remains tumbling into the Martian dust. The second ship veered off, trying to retreat, but rebel fighters, small, nimble craft modified from stolen Zalari tech, swarmed like hornets, hammering it with concentrated fire. Explosions tore through its hull, and the once mighty warship crumbled. Only the third remained. Furious, it unleashed a rain of plasma fire onto the planet, scorching the red sands. Kane wasn't finished. Using their stolen ship, he and his team launched from the surface, dodging wreckage and enemy fire. They closed in on the final warship, slipping through its defenses before it could react. Kane piloted straight into its hangar bay, crashing into the docking bay in a controlled wreck. The rebels stormed out, guns blazing. It was over in minutes. The final Zalari commander fell to Kane's plasma rifle. The warship was theirs. A message to the galaxy. From the captured warship, Kane sent a transmission across the Empire's network. Humanity is no longer your slaves. We are your reckoning. The war had truly begun. The Iron Stars. The Zalari fleet arrived over Earth like a storm of fire. Thousands of warships filled the void, blotting out the stars, their cannons primed to burn the last remnants of human defiance from existence. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity once. They would not make that mistake again. Kane stood on the bridge of the captured warship, watching as the enemy's armada prepared to strike. He clenched his fists. This wasn't just a battle. It was extinction or survival. All units, this is Kane, he said over the comms. No more running. No more hiding. We stand here, and we show them what it means to be human. A chorus of voices answered. Across Earth's surface and beyond, humanity stood ready. The last battle. The first Zalari ships descended, plasma cannons lighting up the atmosphere. But as they neared, Earth's hidden defenses awoke. Orbital railguns, thought destroyed decades ago, sprang to life, unleashing hypervelocity slugs that tore through enemy hulls. From the planet's surface, missile silos opened, sending payloads streaking into the heavens, detonating inside the enemy formations. And then came the fleet. From Mars, from hidden asteroid bases, from stolen Imperial ships, humanity's ragtag armada surged into battle. They weren't as advanced, but they were smarter, faster, and more ruthless. Kane piloted their captured warship straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Target their command ship, he ordered. We end this today. The Zalari flagship, a leviathan of metal and death, loomed ahead, its defenses shredding human ships like paper. But Kane wasn't interested in a fair fight. He pushed the engines to full throttle. Prepare for a boarding assault. The reckoning. Under heavy fire, they breached the Zalari flagship's hull, storming into its corridors like avenging ghosts. The Zalari fought viciously, but they were unprepared for human ferocity. Room by room, Kane's team cut them down, blood and fire staining the once pristine corridors. At last, Kane reached the ship's command center. The Zalari Supreme Commander stood waiting, clad in ornate battle armor. You fight against the inevitable, the alien sneered. Your kind was meant to serve. Kane raised his plasma rifle. Not anymore. He pulled the trigger. The Supreme Commander collapsed, a smoking hole in its chest. The Empire's grip shattered in that moment. A new era. With their flagship fallen, the Zalari fleet broke apart, retreating into the void. Humanity had done the impossible. Kane stood on the wreckage of the enemy command center, breathing in the scent of burned metal. The cost had been high. Thousands dead, cities in ruins, but Earth was free. Humanity had been slaves. Now, they were conquerors. And across the stars, the remnants of the Galactic Empire would learn to fear the name of mankind.